Welcome to She Blaze, where we're bringing you cannabis culture from a woman's point of view. And as always, here to elevate the cannabis industry. I'm one of your hosts, Ice Dawson, Cannabis Socialite.
And I am Dasheeda Dawson, the WeedHead.
Hey, WeedHead.
Welcome.
Yes.
Hey.
Welcome to another show. On today's episode of She Blaze, we're discussing lobbying in DC. Oh, yes. Students suing their college over marijuana. And are our medical marijuana cards really protected with HIPAA?
These are inquiring minds want to know. You always pull the good tea. Well, that is going to be exciting to chat about. But before we get into that, of course, we have to talk about our high of the week.
Yes, because you know we are.
Yes, of course. So my high of the week is actually finding the fantastic strain Super Lemon Haze in the Nevada market. It's been really tough, but this is one of my absolute favorite strains anytime someone asks me. And then I guess the story behind it is always why. Right after my mom passed away, or our mom passed away, essentially every day I had Super Lemon Haze and coffee. And it was the strain that really was very uplifting for me. Just very difficult to deal with every day, realizing she was no longer with us, and I loved it. And so it always had a special place in my heart. I love that linalool and myrcene. Myrcene is very anti-anxiety, anti-inflammation, and it's a great sativa for people who like a wake and bake.
Yes. Well, wake and bakes are crucial as a cannabis consumer.
Critical.
Yes,
absolutely.
And my high of the week is really a cannabis cocktail sativa. I am on some Grape Monster, and 13 Gorillas.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a cannabis cocktail full of sativas. Grape Monster, really, like I say all the time, I love when my cannabis smells fruity. And so legit, that Grape Monster smells like a bag of grapes you buy at the grocery store or a glass of wine, depending on where you're getting it from. And the 13 Gorillas is like not typically the type of taste I like because it's so piney.
Right.
I felt like I chewed on a pine cone.
Yeah, so. You're funny, but I'm sure you were very focused though.
Yeah, that's why I do sativas. I'm a sativa diva because, I got to stay focused, got to stay on that money.
That's good. Listen, I think I have a little bit of everything in the repertoire because of the inflammation and insomnia, but it's always good to definitely find good sativas. And you guys need to definitely check out the weedhead.com for some product reviews because we already got a few, but I want to hear about that. What was it?
Grape Monster. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to drop y'all a little review on the Grape Monster.
And this was flour because last episode you were telling us about all your crumble and sugar.
Yeah, we mixed
We're going to have questions about that later, and trust we will cover that in a future episode.
Absolutely, because I do go crazy with the concentrates, but no, we mixed our Wax Wednesday deals because, Nevada's market is pretty expensive.
Yes, you're going to come here. Please be prepared to spend some change.
Okay, minimum your first time at any cannabis store in Nevada, you got to bring in $300 to get all of what you want, what you imagine, what you heard.
Yes.
You got to have 300 minimum. You heard it here first.
Okay. So what else are we hearing? Let's get into these hot topics.
Yes, because, I got the hotties. Cannabis lobbying in DC. We tell our followers all the time, go out, advocate, talk to your lawmakers. And they tell us, well, what y'all doing in DC? Well, there's actually some cannabis lobbying going on right now. It is very small compared to how many other lobby groups there are lobbying for way different things, maybe even against it. However, Altria, which is a tobacco company, has reportedly spent $60,000 on lobbying. And it may sound like a lot, but it's not that much. Again, compared to the big lobbying groups.
That's true. I mean, cannabis needs more presence, and we've been saying that for a long time. We've participated in lobby days with the National Cannabis Industry Association, NCIA, as well as Minorities for Medical Marijuana. And so they exist, but sometimes it does feel like we're boiling the ocean because we are the small fish there. And we are fighting an uphill battle because we're also telling the politicians who for decades and decades have heard so many negative things about cannabis. But, shout out to Altria, sort of, for switching teams, because for many years, decades and decades, they were part of this engine that was keeping cannabis illegal. If people don't know, Altria is actually the parent company of Philip Morris, and Philip Morris is the manufacturer of pretty much all of the top cigarette brands that you can think of, as well as the things
your little Swisher Sweets, your Backwoods.
Exactly.
They're yeah.
So basically, they're big tobacco defined, but they recently jumped into the cannabis industry by putting in a $1.8 billion investment in the Canadian market. And so when you say 60,000, while that is a lot for the cannabis space, trust, we have been trying our best to, grow fast. We know that that's some change compared to $1.8 billion. Altria knows what it takes to be able to shift law. So this is, to me, I feel like it's a little posturing. So when we're wondering why our lobbying is not effective, it may be because it ain't real.
Maybe. I mean, I just want to know, how much did y'all spend a year on anti-cannabis lobbying? And then, do some J. Cole math, add some ×3 divided by plus multiplied to the second. Because you owe us a lot of money,
Yes.
It's been decades and decades as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, I mean, it is one of those things where it's a new wave. We are seeing more spending happening because we want to keep up, and we're seeing big business start to come in. And they already know the game. We've known it, but we haven't had enough money to really support it. They know the game, and so now they're here. But I hope that it really has to do with more with patient and not capitalistic. I don't think Altria is lobbying because they know that more patients need to have access to medical marijuana, or we need to have more research. They're lobbying because they're looking at their bottom line and they're hedging their bets a bit. I believe they're probably still lobbying on behalf of tobacco, which, by the way, still has some anti-marijuana in it. So it's a little bit shady to me. It's part of why I always am giving silence and why we talk about it here, She Blaze, to be honest.
It is a hot topic for sure. And I really did enjoy it. But again, I think the health and wellness is really important. And so I want to focus on some people that really need that 60,000 for their health and wellness, which in the University of Denver, there is a study going on for pregnant women using cannabis.
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Right? It's definitely progress compared to mostly anything we've heard in these last couple months, especially because in America, we do not have any homegrown studies that support our theories or our thoughts around pregnant women, babies, cannabis.
Exactly.
And so we need these studies because, I mean, there's been other studies otherwhere, of course, but, not here in America.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate. Being illegal means we can't study it. We have limited FDA approved anything. And we are the patients that are getting the raw end of the deal as far as I'm concerned. Going overseas globally and seeing what's being done and what's happening, real science that's actually happening, it actually makes me a little angry. So I'm excited to see that pregnant women are starting to stand up, because this particular doctor is interested not because she's concerned about the negative impact. It's parents or moms to be that are coming to her that want to actually use cannabis instead of some of the alternatives that we usually are given when you're pregnant. I mean, when you're pregnant, I have a 6-year-old, so it's been a while, but when you're pregnant, they try to get you to be as clean as possible on whatever you're eating. I didn't even have cannabis in my own repertoire of things. So there was no way I was going to think about it while I was pregnant. But now, if I was having a baby, it would absolutely be different. There would have to be some changes on my thought process because I suffer from a lot of inflammation. He was a 10-pound baby. I definitely think cannabinoid treatment could have helped me on some things. And I know now, based on what ailments I have, that it would be required. I would have to find a doctor or somebody somewhere, the Doc Knox, shout out to them. I'd have to get someone who was already understanding about the endocannabinoid system and how best to support just a human body, including a pregnant. So I'm excited to see that these people are interested and women are stepping up to participate.
Yes. And, this is just progress in our community as usual. And to move on to our next topic, because we're still talking about progress.
Yes.
And I don't know if this is good progress or bad progress.
Okay.
Well, a college student is suing their college over marijuana, and it sounds as bad as it sounds because this college student has a medical marijuana card, and they had it before they got tested by their school. So Gateway Community College drug tests their health care degrees. Like most of anybody in the healthcare field, that's happening. Well, this student told her instructor, like, I have a medical marijuana card. I use it to go to sleep. Am I going to get in trouble? I don't want to get in trouble for doing this. The instructor told her, hey, bring your card. You'll be fine. You don't have to worry about anything. The school's not going to really trip. Well, the school tripped. They tripped a lot because she's no longer at school, and now she has to sue them for her tuition because we getting loans to go.
Yes.
And more because ultimately now she's missing more and more school because she can't go to class. Yeah. And even if you accept her back,
she's missed quite a bit. In the health professions, it's hard, especially when they got you on tracks. Mm-hmm. Listen, I commend this woman for standing up for her rights because she's supposed to be protected. And had she understood how HIPAA laws work, then maybe she wouldn't have even kind of quote unquote rat herself out to her professor. But the reality is that Arizona, where this school is where I got my medical marijuana card, and she should be protected. It shouldn't be a situation where she's not allowed to go into a testing facility, show the card, and the school shouldn't really know. Now, I get it. There are a lot of professions that we're all a little antsy about, and I absolutely understand why we want to make sure that people who are treating other folks, handling other people's lives would not be impaired. But I also feel a way about how we're, just schools and colleges wanting to control every aspect of somebody's life. That doesn't seem right at all, simply because someone wants to pursue that degree. We're still human. So whatever she's taking cannabis for, or any treatment, it's none of the school's business, in my opinion.
It's definitely not when you're hearing states like California and DC, ultimately allowing K through 12 to have their medical marijuana present, and she actually doesn't use cannabis on campus, so that's even more different. But the college, they say the same quotes just about every time. They don't want to lose federal funding because they allowed their student to use their medical marijuana because it is still federally illegal.
I'm tired of the same argument, to be perfectly honest. I feel colleges need to chill. And also read the tea leaves a little bit. At the end of the day, we've had so much discussion with our presidential candidates, the current president, around federal legalization of cannabis. It feels a little bit like just the easy way out for colleges and universities to say, well, we currently are, but where are you going? I also think when you are in charge of the minds of people who are 18 to 25, when something progressive is happening or any type of change is happening, you better believe they're going to be part of it. First of all, most college students, grad students, they're smoking weed anyway. Like, that's real. So this girl was responsible enough to decide, because she was probably because she's going to be in a health profession, to go out and get a medical marijuana card. So I feel like she shouldn't be penalized. as a result of her more official stance, official use. You can only legally use cannabis in Arizona using the card. So she's within her legal right. So it feels like the school is out of bounds here. And we just kind of need to get up to speed with what's happening with the industry.
Yes. Well, we've been laying the foundation on our thoughts about medical marijuana. So let's move into our main topic, because medical marijuana cards are important. Yes. And you talk about HIPAA all the time, We got to know, are our medical marijuana cards protected by HIPAA?
Well, I'll say technically, yes, they are, technically. I'm not a lawyer, I'll start that, and I'm also not a doctor. I jokingly say I play one on TV, but really mostly with my family, but I did go to medical school. And one of the areas, medical students, we don't know everything, but so they're kind of always wanting to warn us about where we can make big mistakes. HIPAA protection, HIPAA law is one of those areas. When I was in medical school, they were like, no, you can't inadvertently or purposely give out information. But what I realized as a student is that there are a lot of patients that don't even have a clue what HIPAA is. So before we jump into it, let's get a little bit of the details behind it. So HIPAA actually is an acronym, and it stands for the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. The hell does that mean? Trust me, I didn't know when I was in medical school. I don't know now, but what I do know is that it is a law that passed in 1996. It's actually our first privacy law.
Wow.
We name stuff in this country and we be like, I don't know. They came up with health insurance portability, which means how you're moving it, and accountability. So who's moving it? What that tells you then is that before 96, big businesses or big companies, whether it's insurance companies or the hospitals, when they got your health information, there was no law protecting them being able to move it to whomever they wanted to and share it to whomever they wanted to. In fact, in some ways, the insurance companies got off really, really large because they were having a whole separate line of revenue driven by just selling our health information, and then you get sold other things, other products, other things like that. So privacy is a big conversation right now. Can you imagine? But yeah, so
no, I cannot imagine. No, I cannot believe you got America waited to the 90s to officially give us protection of, obviously if we're going for insurance and our healthcare, that should have been automatic.
Yes, it should have been, but I think what we got to realize, and I've come to this conclusion, is that we are making laws, and we have made laws historically in our country based on the benefit of big business, and not so much about the citizens, or in the case of medical patients. And so this was a real big step in the right direction. Well, what does it actually mean? It's basically a set of policies and procedures and guidelines to maintain patient security and privacy over protected health information, or what we call PHI. And of course, everyone's like, well, what's that? What's that exactly? That is the area people can argue the most about, whether or not medical marijuana is considered a protected health piece of information. I believe it is, right? Because there are so many different ailments that will qualify you. Let's just start with epilepsy, for example, because we have an FDA approved drug related to it. That's an example where you could take a whole bunch of different types of medicine, including cannabinoid, to treat it. I don't have to share with you my other information. I don't have to even share with you that I have epilepsy. Right. It's about saving someone maybe an embarrassment. Why would I want my workplace to necessarily know that? If I am doing my job well and it doesn't impact my 9 to 5, why does it matter what I'm actually using to resolve my epilepsy? And so in this way, I feel like when we go case by case, you can clearly see that medical marijuana cards should fall under HIPAA protection. But as with most laws, a lot of it has to do with jurisdiction and whether the institution is actually going to implement it that way. And I think we've got to do better at compelling people to implement it. I'm one of those people where I wanted to be a conscious patient. I came in with a set of information. And so I knew when I got my medical marijuana card, because it was a medical case, that it should be protected. I knew that because, like I said, that was one of the first things they taught us in medical school. Right. I knew that my information should be protected. But what I've been I guess, realizing, traveling throughout the country, is that it doesn't get implemented that way. And so we're still really behind. And then you wind up having incidents like the girl who has to sue her college.
Seriously, I mean, first of all, it's still blowing my mind that it just took this long, especially when Facebook's maybe not been out that long compared to some health insurances we've had in this country, and they're already in front of Congress talking about privacy. And to think that, you know, health insurance has been selling information, was selling your information before that time is crazy. But it's even more crazy to think that, you know, because the medical marijuana is federally illegal, that it still wouldn't be protected, even though it literally has a patent on how it can help the body. And people need it for a whole bunch of, you know, health reasons. It just doesn't seem right. But I do have to ask the question, as we bring all these cannabis businesses into the industry, what can they do to protect their patient, protect their employee? You know, it's like, how do they teach them about HIPAA? How do they teach their patients to be good medical marijuana patients?
I think that's a great question, and it's something that we're constantly trying to teach around the country using CEASE and our cannabis conversations. But, you know, there are steps to it. It first starts with the health provider that's certifying. So if you are a health provider and you are doing cannabis certification, you need to ensure that when people leave, your consumers, they're leaving not afraid and feeling understanding around the protection. Whenever I go to any new doctor's office, a dentist's office, I'm leaving, anytime I sign information, I'm leaving with a little snippet, flyer or handout related to HIPAA, because they need to remind me, oh, by the way, we're accountable to your information. And so unless you give us permission, then we are not allowed to share it. And so I think it goes for the same kind of process in a cannabis certification facility. So make sure all of your patients are leaving with that. But then let's say that that's not happening, or that person slips through the hole. Well, the other way that you can make sure that you are helping as a cannabis business is, if you're a dispensary, make sure that your patients or your consumers, the people buying, are, every time they're the first time in your dispensary, maybe you give them a flyer, they leave with that. We're going to leave some really important URLs in the comments, because they're just PDFs that you can print directly from the health department, the government, the United States government health department page online in terms of HIPAA laws and HIPAA protection. And they're perfect handouts, because it's just a reminder. You using a medical marijuana card, this is for a medical thing. You are protected, that you have certain health information, including this, does not need to be shared without your consent. And so then that brings me to the third thing, which is, if you are a cannabis business that has employees, and you want to make sure that you're really, again, protecting them, I say that it's probably in your best interest, from a revenue and bottom line perspective, or more cost, not revenue, to just forego the whole drug testing. A lot of European countries have actually moved to this. And New York City actually just had a new ordinance that came in and said that they're not allowing marijuana testing. But when I just recently had experience with a cannabis company, they wanted me to drug test. And I was like, why? They're like, oh, we're going to do everything but that panel. And I'm like, first of all, you're wasting your money, because that drug tests, these drug tests, are really biased towards marijuana. They're really intended to catch things that are in your system for a while. Cannabis, of all of the things that's tested for, THC is the only thing in your system that you can't abstain for and not be caught on the test. If you're doing coke, you just abstain for 2 days, you're not going to have a bad drug test. Marijuana, on the other hand, it may be up to 30 days, depending on your fat level. So it's one of those things where I think it's about a culture shift, and the cannabis companies, big companies, can be the first to start. Altria, for example, maybe might want to stop doing that if that's what they're doing. For example, that would be a much better use of your thought leadership in the industry, by doing something radical like that. But The last piece I will say of advice is make sure that if you are an employee, as you're signing things or you're a student and you're getting those loans or you're getting those scholarships, look at what you're signing. Because one of the loopholes in HIPAA, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but they taught us a lot of this stuff in medical school, and it was a big mistake if you were to do this inadvertently. But one of the loopholes in HIPAA is around what you sign away. This is about you having protection until you give it away. And what happens when you're in a hospital, and this is why you get so much HIPAA stuff, is that you're giving away that protection to some degree, because in order for a hospital to treat you, they got to share that information with one department, the next department, maybe even another hospital. So they want to be able to act on your behalf. And a lot of times that's what you're signing. People don't realize you may be signing that for schools, or you may be signing that for your promissory note for your loan, or you may be signing that for your employment contract. So just take a look at those things and make sure that it doesn't, automatically give away your right to privacy, because it is something that you should be able to have. And when you're signing it away, it's not only privacy around medical marijuana, like you're signing away your privacy. There are some, there are some, your health privacy. There are some positions that not that we care less, but we know that that's important. Being a pilot, being a bus driver.
Yeah, definitely, because you have people's lives in your hands.
Exactly. But I think I still go back to, at the end of the day, if it doesn't impact my 9 to 5, assuredly doesn't impact me. I am a performer, great performer. You're not seeing any lateness or anything like that that's causing my job to, not, be great or whatever. Then maybe, but generally speaking, I feel like otherwise it's just none of your business. If I'm an insomniac and I'm only using it during a set amount of time and I'm not impaired during my hours of work, it really is none of your business. We don't care about when people use alcohol. We're not caring so much about when they're using all of these opioids that are being prescribed. We just get the same warning. You're expecting people to be responsible enough not to drive impaired, not to come up and show up to work impaired. The people who are going to show up impaired or drive impaired, it's not because they're using cannabis, it's because they're irresponsible, period.
Well, you make some really great points, and you have really, really set the foundation, set the understanding for medical marijuana. Because honestly, when I got my medical marijuana card, literally, they did not tell me anything. They didn't help me figure out to see if my employer did I sign that privacy for my employer? Am I eligible to go to school and have that loan? They didn't say any of those things when I did my card.
Yeah.
And also when the state sent me my card, it didn't say any of those things either.
That's a good point, because that's a great point of contact. The state health department has to mail everyone their cards in nearly every medical marijuana state. So that's a perfect time for the state to also protect patients and send them a flyer around HIPAA. Make sure that people know that they can be protected with that card.
Wow. We have really blew you guys' minds on this episode.
I feel like I blew your mind.
I'm speechless because when you're onboarding for jobs, I know most people don't know this, but yes, I have worked outside of my family business. Not much. But when you go onboarding for jobs, they rush over that HIPAA, that privacy part really quick, because they want you to get to your job and get to their function and talk about that. They don't really go through that. And when you think about employee handbooks, it's literally like a paragraph with maybe 2 extra bullets. It's nothing. And to think that, one, HIPAA was created in the 90s. Literally, I was a little wee baby, and they have been already giving away your information. And it was such this big deal. And now medical marijuana is such this big deal. They want to just give away our information as if they didn't fight this long to, protect patients. What did you do? It is almost
again, patients who are medical marijuana patients specifically don't have the dignity afforded to other patients. And I rebuke that for real. That is why when people meet me, the first thing they do hear about me is I am a patient. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm very functional. And I think that there are very, very responsible cannabis users, conscious cannabis users out there. And, you know, we are what I call the new face of cannabis, because not that the old faces, meaning the hood faces, are the wrong faces. Right. I'm talking about the war on drug faces, the Nancy Reagan faces. Those are the things we saw. And that's not this. That's not what we are doing. And I think it's important that we fight for our rights as just patients. So,
all right, fight for your right. Okay. Well, we have taken you guys around and back, but we gotta know, where in the world is the WeedHead? Well, the WeedHead, of course, is everywhere, and we're even more so everywhere because you can have my book, and I can be right there in front of you. Yep. Get How to Succeed in the Cannabis Industry. If you are an entrepreneur or a professional looking to cross over into the space, you can pre-order the book now on the weedhead.com/shop. It is the 3rd edition, and y'all, I put my foot in it. I did. I am so excited. I'm so excited. But if you don't want the book, which I would say is probably I doubt it. You do want the book, it's almost $20. Right. You can still also catch me at the Real Cannabis Entrepreneur Summit this weekend. Or if you are ready to really hang with the big cannabis folks, take it on to Vegas, where we are, and check it out. MJ BizCon. We will be there 12, 9, and 13, and we will bless everybody with some sort of pop-up book signing of some sort. But you got to follow us in order to find out where in the world is the WeedHead. I'm not going to cheat it anymore and put it on She Blaze as much. I want people to follow us on the weedhead.com so they can find out where in the world I am. I know that's right. Well, we might have to create another segment for you guys, but we do know that following at the weedhead.com will let you know where in the world is the WeedHead. You could check out our marketplace, which is popping, and we got a whole bunch of new looks and stuff for you guys. Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, we got Urbana bags. Ooh, yes. And they are really cute. And they really work. Yes, they really work, and they hold up, because we were having a conversation. She's been holding on that Urbana bag for like years now, legit. Because it really 365 does. That's the key. The smell-proof part works. It's cute and it's smell-proof. That's important. Yes. So check it out on our website right now, and please follow She Blaze on Facebook and on Instagram as She_Blaze. And we coming to y'all through y'all audio because we got SoundCloud. Yes. So definitely you can listen, you can watch, you can shop, you can learn. We just got everything. Oh my goodness. We're trying to make it for everybody because we just want to make it so easy for people to cross over. Yes. Ain't no reason now. Okay, you better get in that cannabis industry. So I hope you guys have a great Saturday. Ooh. All right, see you later. Bye.